Assalamu alaikum everyone. In this channel, we will be regularly uploading some videos for the non-native English speakers or for the non-native English learners who are basically struggling with the reading section of Ielts. There may be two reasons for their struggle. First of all, they might be struggling with the vocabularies. We will not try to cover the vocabularies in these videos, but we will try our best. If for those students, those who know enough vocabularies by now, by their study time, or by their graduation or by the end of their college life, they know enough vocabularies, but still they struggle to find the ideas of each sentence of the reading passages. So we will take the reading text from Cambridge, as this will be focused for mainly IELTS. So we will take the reading passages from the Cambridge books, and we will try to figure out the main ideas of each sentence. So what's special in this, as this all of these sentences, or if not all, then most of the sentences are complex sentences. Like this, the first sentence, this is the complex sentence obviously, and the second one is also complex. Yes, obviously complex, and the third one is also another complex sentence. Why we are saying it complex? Because in a complex sentence, if this is a sentence, then in a complex sentence, there must be multiple ideas or multiple clauses or parts in a complex sentence. Suppose this is the part 1, this is the part 2, this is the part 3 of a complex sentence, and each part contains a different subject and different verb, different subject, different verb, different subject and different verb. So what will be the main idea of the sentence? As we said here, our target will be to find the main ideas of each complex sentence. Okay, we are disturbed by some animals outside. I'm extremely sorry for that, but okay, let's continue. So what, where we left? Okay, we will face those complex sentences, and we will try to find the main ideas of each complex sentence. To find the main idea, we will figure out, or we will find out the independent clause. Okay, there will be in this line, in this graph, there is three clauses, three part or three clauses: part 1 or clause 1, part 2 or clause 2, or part 3 or clause 3, we can see. But which one is the main, which one is the independent clause? How will we will understand this? And if we can understand the main clause or the independent clause, if we can find out or distinguish or differentiate the independent clause from the other clauses, then we will find the main subject and main verb. The main subject might be in the beginning of a sentence, or in the middle of the sentence, or in the end of a sentence. This is not, there is no any rule of where the main subject will be, but we will find out our main subject and main verb, or we will find out our independent clause, and this independent clause will contain the main idea of a complex sentence. If this is a complex sentence, then the main clause will basically contain the main idea of this complex sentence. So how we will find the main subject and main verb? This is a valid question. So in order to find the main subject and main verb, we will consider some thumb rules, you can say, or some shortcuts. This is what the video is here. This is why the video is here, to let you know the shortcut, to tell you how to use the shortcut, or so that you can easily find the main subject of the verbs. So the shortcut is that if we face any prepositions, if we face any preposition, and if there is noun after the preposition, or multiple noun, or any adjective or noun, whatever it is, if there is preposition and noun, if there might be the noun might be there in a close distance of the preposition, or it might be in a far, it might be in a multiple number, or it might be in a far distance of the preposition. It might not be closer to the preposition. There might be some adjective or different article or different things between the preposition and noun. But if we see a preposition, and if we can find out any noun after the preposition, then we will not consider these nouns as our subject. As we know already by now that noun subjects are basically nouns or pronoun. But if the noun is after the preposition, then if the noun is after the preposition, then we will not consider these nouns as our subject, or as our subject means as our main subject. Okay, what we're finding? We're finding our main subject, or the main subject and the main verb, and the main subject will be from the independent clause. We will not find the independent clause, but we will find the main subject. So to find the main subject, we will consider this rule 1. Here, if we find any preposition, and after now, if there is noun after the preposition, so we will not consider these nouns. We will not consider these nouns as our subject. Okay, so the next rule. So our second rule, or the second shortcut to find the, or to filter out the unnecessary parts and find our main subject and main verb, we will look for V3, or we will, if we're reading the text, and if we just run into a V3, or if we find a V3, which is we know as past participle, or if we find a verb plus ing, or if we find a verb plus ing, which we call present participle. And another thing that is important is, if we find these things if we find these things either v3 or v plus ing without any be verb. Okay, be verb. What is be verb? We know am, is, are, was, or were, will be, or there might be passive form of be verb like been. Okay, so if we face this v3 and v plus ing without any be verb before this, before the v3 or before the v plus ing, before mean I what I mean is the left side of v3 and the left side of v plus ing in a sentence, and if there is no be verb, then we will not consider the later part, or the later uh, clause or phrase. It might be a phrase, the later phrase of v3 or v plus ing as important. Okay, we will not consider the later part of the v3 or v plus ing as important. This means we will not try to find any subject or any verb, especially the main subject or the main verb inside this part. So what is this part? This part will be after V3 or V plus ing, and there will be no be verb before the V3 or V plus ing. But if there is be verb before V3 and V plus ing, then this is not the rule to follow. Okay, then this is not the rule to follow. We will follow this only if there is no be verb before V3 and V plus ing. Okay, so another important thing to ignore or to avoid to find the main subject or verb is relative pronouns. We know what the relative pronouns are. The relative pronouns are that, which, whom, who, and etc. etc. When and there are lots. Okay, then if there is relative pronoun, if we find relative pronoun while reading, okay, if we find relative pronoun while reading, we will not consider the later part of the relative pronoun as important. This means we will not try to find our main subject or main verb after the relative pronouns. Okay, we will completely mm, disregard the later part after these relative pronouns. We will not consider this part as important, and we will not try to find the main subject and main verb after the relative pronouns, but we will use these later after finding the main subject and main verb as relative pronoun, and the part or and the phrase or and the clause that is after it. This means something. This means or this indicates something which is a noun, and the noun will be before these relative pronouns. Okay, noun will be before this relative pronoun, and the noun and this relative pronoun will be followed by this noun exactly after it. Okay, so we will find a noun just before these relative pronouns, and the larger part of these relative pronoun plus the lots of things we will see after it. All these things just means or add details to one thing, support one thing, add supporting ideas to one thing, which is noun. Okay, so this is the one thing, and the fourth and the final important shortcut or thing that is we are going to avoid is subordinating conjunction. We already know what a subordinating conjunction is. Subordinating conjunction is subordinating conjunction are because, since, while, although. Okay, so after the subordinating conjunctions, we will also see a long part or a short part. There might be short or long part. There might be a subject. There might be. There must be a subject and must be a verb after each subordinating conjunction. But we will not consider this as our main subject and main verb. Okay, so if we run into the subordinating conjunctions like because, since, while, although, as, and there are many. If we run into these subordinating conjunction, the later part after the subordinating conjunctions are not important to us, and we will not consider the subjects and verbs inside the later part of the subordinating conjunction as our main subject or main verb. Okay, so these are the four important things that we will remember while reading a complex text, so that we can find the main subject and the main verb easily. So let's begin our reading, and we will try to apply these four rules, and you will find it quite easy. We will try to make all of the things that we said earlier completely fine to you. Okay, let's begin. So the first sentence starts with the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution, as we can see, the is the article, and after that we are getting an adjective, industrial. After that there is a noun, the revolution. Okay, so the revolution is the noun, and there is no preposition before this noun, so we can consider it as our subject. So this is the subject, and now we will look for a verb of this subject. So let's start looking for a verb. As we move forward, we see that we are getting a verb here. Begin. Okay, begin is the verb. So this is the subject and this is the verb. And after that we are getting a preposition and a noun in written. So we are not considering it for the initial stage or for our main idea. In the mid 70s, this is also a preposition and article the, and after that we are getting 17s, 17s, and by the. Okay, So this can be considered as a noun even though this is a number, but after the article we can consider it as a noun. So this is not something that needs to be considered in our primary stage, as we are ignoring preposition and noun after the preposition. Okay, now we are getting and. So two main subjects or two main ideas or two independent clauses can be connected by and. So we will look, if we look for another independent clause if we get, as there is possibility of getting another subject after and, but we are getting a preposition and an article, so these are the nouns. So we will not consider these, as nouns after prepositions will be ignored. And we are getting another verb, had spread, right? So after and we are getting a verb, but a noun is missing or a subject of this verb is missing. So we need to find a subject. But is there any subject in between the and the verb? No, there is no subject. So if this is the case, and if these types of cases arrive in future, then one thing we should remember, that the subject before and, the subject before and, which is the revolution or the industrial revolution, we can consider the whole thing. So the subject before and will be also the subject after and. This is called parallel structure in grammatical language. But for now, just know simply that if there is no subject after and there is a verb alone, so consider the subject before and for the subject after and. Okay, so the subject remains the same also after and. So the sentence will be, the industrial revolution began and the industrial revolution had spread. Okay, then we're again getting a preposition to, and after that there are nouns and adjectives of the parts. This is the noun, so we will not consider this. And of the word, same thing, of preposition and the word noun. And we are getting another thing here, this is the verb, v plus ing, verb plus ing. We talked about this earlier, that if we encounter anything like this, v plus ing or verb plus ing or v3, then we are going to ignore the things after that. The things after that means the United States. Okay, so we are going to ignore the whole thing, and we will later consider it after writing our main idea, or getting clear about our main idea. Okay, so first we need to get clear or be clear about our main idea, which is, I'm writing here, the industrial revolution. The industrial revolution began. This was the main idea of our sentence, first sentence. And there is another idea that is connected with and, which is, again the subject after and will be what? This one, the industrial revolution. This was the subject. So again the industrial revolution, and what was the verb after and? Had spread, right? So this is our first sentence and the main ideas of the first sentence. There are two ideas connected with and. So now we will complete the whole thing. We will consider the ignored things to complete these ideas, and we will connect the ignored things with these two ideas. Okay. Okay, let's begin connecting the ignored ideas. So let's erase the things here. So first we ignored one thing, that is in Britain. So let's connect it with our this idea. The industrial revolution began in Britain. So the industrial revolution started or began in Britain when, in the mid 70s. So this idea completes with a place where and with a time when. So the industrial revolution began in Britain and in a time period mid 70s. And by the 1830s and 1840s, this is also a time period that completes our idea of the after end, which is this. So the industrial revolution had spread by the 1830s and 1840s. So by 1830s and 1840s, and we considered these earlier to many other parts. So the industrial revolution had spread to many other parts, and the industrial revolution had spread to many other parts of the world. So this is the complete idea of the um, clause after end, which is the industrial revolution had spread by this time to where? To different parts of the world. And there is another thing, including the United States. So we will also consider this into the different parts of the world, as this is a participle phrase. So it normally defines the noun before it, okay, or the idea before it. So what was the idea? The idea was the industrial revolution had spread within this time and different parts to different parts of the world, which also includes the USA, United States. Okay, there is. Okay, so we're moving to the next sentence. So the next sentence starts with in Britain, which is a preposition and noun. So we will not consider this, as these are not within this. We will not find any subject. Although you may think that Britain is a clear noun, so Britain might be a subject, but no, it is after a preposition, so this is not considered. But we are getting it. So it is a pronoun. It can be a subject. Okay. So it can be a subject. We will write the it here as a subject. So we'll mark it. And we need, as we got a subject, so we need what? A verb, right? So we will find a verb. And we find a verb, we can see a verb after it, just after it. It was. So was is a be verb. So we can consider it as the subject of the verb it. As the verb of the subject it, sorry. So it was a period. This was a period, but or it was a period. Then after that, we are getting a relative. Okay, we are getting a relative pronoun when, right? When is a relative pronoun defining what? Defining the noun before it, which is period. So we will not consider things after this relative pronoun. Okay, so we will not consider this clause as as this is not important for us. Okay, so we will write the main idea of the second sentence. The main idea was it was a period. The second sentence is actually defining a time period. It was a period, and sorry, so it was a period, and in which place this period and which place is this period is about? It is about the place Britain, right? This is about the Britain. So we will consider it. This period is in Britain. In Britain, this time or this period was telling us something about a time in Britain or about specific things in Britain. So now we will consider the rest of the things, as there is nothing left to think about the main idea. So this is the period that the passage is talking about. So what the period tells us, this will what the period is about, this will be told by the relative clause or the things after the relative pronoun. So we will consider it now. So it was a period when a largely rural agrarian society, this is related to agriculture, right? And rural, which is something like countryside areas, or which is not urban, like, right? So this was a period when a largely rural agrarian society. So we are looking for a noun, right? We're looking for a noun. So this was the noun, the society. So noun can be a subject. So this is our subject. Now we are looking for a verb. So the verb is after it was transformed, which is in the passive form. This is the be verb and this is the V3. So this was the passive form of verb. The society was transformed. So this was a basic question that can arise into our mind, that the transformation happened between what and what transformed into what, right? So the society was transformed, but the society was before agrarian. It was agrarian society before, agrarian and rural, but it transformed into an industrial and urban one. So it was a period of transformation, if I say in simple. Transformation of what? Transformation happened from rural to industrial, sorry, urban, and agrarian society, agrarian, or a society related to agriculture to industrial. So this is mainly a sentence where the second sentence is actually telling us about this period when a transformation occurred. Okay, when a transformation occurred. The transformation was detailed in this relative clause. The transformation was from rural to urban or agrarian to industrial. Next, we are moving to the third sentence. Okay, so the third sentence is, as you can see, starting with a noun, goods, right? Goods. So this is a noun, and there is no preposition before it. So we can consider it as our subject easily. But after that, what we are getting is a relative pronoun. So relative pronoun and things after the relative pronoun will be ignored in the primary stage. As we know, in within this relative pronoun or within this relative clause, sorry, within this relative clause, we will not find any main subject or main idea or main verb. Okay, so how much of the clause should we ignore, or how should we understand that, mm, what part of the clause or what part of the sentence or what part, how what's the length of the relative clause should be ignored, what should be the length of the relative clause that should be ignored. So this is basically a question that you may think, because there is no comma. So and we might be confused when the relative pronoun or when the relative clause is ending, right? We might be confused, and we might think about this comma as our end point of relative clause. But no, this is not the case. But sometimes there will be comma, but not all the time. So you have to basically check that in a relative clause you will get a verb, right? You will get a verb like had once been crafted. This is passive form. So this is the verb mainly, had been crafted. This is our first verb of our relative clause. So okay, let us not mark it, as we are marking the verbs only, as we are marking only the main verbs. So this is our verb 1 in a relative clause, right? After that, this is the verb 1. So we will ignore until we get a second verb. We will ignore the part until we get a second verb. So let us see if we can find a second verb. Crafted by hand, started. So this is the second verb. So we will ignore until until we find the second verb, or we will ignore till the word hand. So that had once been crafted by hand. So we can ignore till this point by hand. As once we are getting a second verb, we will be sure that this is not inside our relative clause, and this is the starting point of something else. Okay, so the relative clause ends before the second verb. Okay, so started is another verb. So what we are doing, we are looking for a verb of good, as good was our subject, main subject. So we were looking for a verb of these goods. Okay, so we got another verb which is started, and started it is alone. There is nothing before subject before started except goods. So goods is the subject of the verb started. Okay, let us remove the v2. So this is the main verb and this is the main subject. Okay, sorry. Okay. Okay, goods started to, we're getting again a preposition to, but we need to be sure that we need to think about that. Think that if we are getting a noun after preposition, to be produced, is it a noun? No, this is a B form of verb and then V3. So this is the passive form. In grammatical languages, we call it infinitive. So we are getting to plus verb. So we will not ignore it. Rather, we will consider it as an important part of our main subject. At this to plus verb actually means the purpose of the work. Purpose of the verb. Okay, goods started, but but why started, but what started. We need additional details which can be explained by this to be produced in mass quantities. Okay, then goods started to be produced in mass quantities. We can still not consider it as this is a preposition and noun after it, but for clarity we can keep it. Goods started to be produced, and again we are getting by machines in factories, so we can disregard this in factories, as this is a preposition and this is noun. Again this is preposition and this is noun. Thanks to means because of, so because of also a preposition. To the invention, preposition and noun. Of steam power and the introduction, preposition and noun, so we will not consider it. And preposition and noun, so in the initial stage, we will not consider this. In textiles, iron making and other industries. So this is the preparation of now. So what is the main idea? The main idea is in the third sentence, goods started to be produced. Okay, this is our main idea. But what about the things that we ignored? Now we will connect the ignored things or avoided things to complete our main idea. Okay, now we're starting this. So as we told earlier that the relative pronoun that and the later part of the relative pronoun or the relative clause actually means what? Add details to the noun before it. Okay, the relative pronoun add details to the noun before it. So the goods, we can we can say that the goods, what are these? These these had once been crafted by hand. These had once been crafted by hand. These goods, this clause defines the goods once these had been crafted by hand. Before, okay, this is the period before the industrial revolution, as this is explained in the past perfect tense. So this was done in earlier period. Once had been crafted by hand. So this is not inside our main idea. This is just a supporting details. And then what we're getting after that, goods that had been once crafted by hand started to be produced. Produced how? Produced in mass quantities. Okay, goods are now producing in mass quantities. Okay, but where goods started to be produced in mass quantities, or we can say in lots, in a larger amount. Goods are producing in a larger amount by machines in factories. Okay, goods started to be produced by the machines in factories, and because of what? Why goods are producing in so large amount? Because of the invention of what? steam power, because of the invention or because of the introduction of steam power and the introduction of something of what of new machines, as the new machines came to the world, and manufacturing techniques and different new manufacturing techniques, because of this, these goods are producing in the these goods are producing in the machines in factories. And after that, these techniques, where these techniques were utilized in textiles, iron making, and other industries. So this is our main idea. So this is our main idea of the sentence, that the goods that once had been produced by crafted by hand, but after later period when the industrial revolution began, these were producing by, or these had were being produced by machines, factory in factories, so etc etc, because of the inventions of new machines and introduction, whatever it is. So this is the thing. Only three little small sentences, quite precise sentences, but these are these are made so much complex with using because of using relative clauses and different things inside each sentence. So if we can find out the main subject and the main subject and the main verb of each sentence, then we can easily find out the main idea of each sentence and even the main idea of each paragraph. Okay, so you can see that this sentence was so big. This sentence was started from here and ended here, but the idea is so small. Some goods started to be produced in factories. This is the idea. The goods started to be produced in machines and factories, but the goods in the earlier period were being produced with hands, right? So this is the thing. We can simplify the complex ideas by finding our main subject just finding our main subject and the main verb, and we can just ignore other things, but here it is the infinitive, so we kept it. So our main target should be finding the main subject and the main verb. So this is it today. We're wrapping up. Thank you everyone for watching the video.